Hi there, welcome back to JKD Handmade, the channel where I get to share all my crochet patterns with you through tutorials. Here's the finished neck warmer hoodie. This is the neck warmer portion. We'll work the hoodie and then we'll work a little edging around the front opening of the hoodie. This is the front and here's the back, and it's got a rounded hood. So very quickly, if you haven't subscribed, please do. That way you don't miss out on any tutorials from this channel. For this project, I'm turning this neck warmer that I had made in a previous tutorial, and if you haven't seen that tutorial, go down to the description box below and I have a link for this tutorial. So in actual fact, you'll need this neck warmer to continue on with the pattern. And all I'm doing here is adding a hoodie to this neck warmer. And you'll need the same yarn that you had used for your neck warmer. In my case, it's a worsted weight category 4, and this is Aran. And to be honest, this is just leftover yarn. You'll need a pair of scissors, a measuring tape, a stitch marker, and then you'll use the same hook that you had used for your neck warmer. I used a 5mm crochet hook. Now you would need to take one measurement for this pattern, and that's the head measurement. So that's basically the measurement for the length of the hoodie, and that would be a measurement from that little notch that you feel, the bone that you feel at the back of the neck, to the crown. Okay, so let's get on with this tutorial. Taking your neck warmer. So if you look at your neck warmer, you have the seam where you joined the neck warmer, and here it is. So you'll be able to see it here. That's the seam. So we'll use that as center back. So placing center back directly along the center. Here it runs along the center. So on the opposite side will be center front. Now you'll need to mark off center front with your stitch marker, and preferably mark off this sort of sunken area. So if you look at your stitch pattern, you have this raised area here and there. Here it is, and in between you have these little sunken areas. So that's where I would mark it off. That's my center front. And then you'll count your number of stitches, so that if you look at it here, here's a close-up. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Into that 8th stitch is where I will attach yarn. So you go into both loops from that stitch, like so. At that point, bring in your yarn to attach. And then it's a chain 1. Into that same stitch, single crochet. Then it's chain 1. And then you'll skip the sunken area, and again into the raised area you'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and into that 8th stitch, single crochet. So you may need to help your hook get through these stitches, but that's only for this first round. So you insert your hook there, pull up a loop through, and go through both loops on the hook. Then you'll chain 1, skip that sunken area, count your stitches 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, into that 8th stitch, going through both the loops from that stitch. single crochet, chain 1, again count your stitches, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, into that 8th stitch, going into both the loops, single crochet, then it's chain 1. So you'll continue on with the stitch pattern all the way around until you get to your center front, and you're going to get to this last stitch here just before the stitch marker. I've worked my way all around. Here it is at the back and all the way to the front. So this is center front. Here it is marked off, and I've worked my last single crochet into that last raised area. So I counted my stitches 2 4 6, and into the 8th stitch I worked my last single crochet. So now here on out we'll be working double crochets. So for our next round we're turning into that chain space, work a double crochet. So I prefer working my stitches into the stitch. So if you look at our has our chain has 3 loops, 1 2, and then there's one at the back. So I prefer going into that chain, into the 2 loops at the top, and I have 1 loop at the bottom of my hook. That's how I choose to work my stitches. If you prefer going into that chain space, that too is acceptable. So into the chain spaces we'll work double crochets. Let me just get out slightly. Okay, so it's yarn over, insert your hook into that chain space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook. Then into the single crochet, work a double crochet, into the chain 1, work a double crochet. So that's the stitch pattern for round 2. It's double crochets into all single crochets and into chain 1s from the round before. Continue all the way around to the other side. I've continued on working round 2, those double crochets all across. So I stopped at my chain 1 space. I worked a double crochet into that space, and I left the last single crochet unworked. Round 3, chain 2 and turn. Chain 2 counts as our first stitch. So here we're working 2 double crochets and then an increase. So this counting as our first stitch, and here's our second into the next stitch. That's 2 double crochets and an increase into the next stitch. So an increase is working 2 stitches into 1 stitches. And here I have 2 double crochets worked into 1 stitch. So you continue on with the stitch pattern, working 2 double crochets. That's 1, 2, and then an increase into the next stitch. So that's 2 double crochets into 1 stitch. You continue on to the end of the round. So that was 1, and here's my second stitch, and then it's an increase into the next stitch. That's 1, 2, and then it's an increase into the next stitch. Continue on to the end of the round. I've continued on and I've completed round 3. Okay, so for my next round, it's chain 2 and turn. Now here on out for a few rounds, the pattern is the same. We're working double crochets into all stitches. continue on to the end of the round. I've worked my way all around. So I've worked those double crochets, and here I am at the end of round 4. So don't forget that our initial chain 2 counted as a stitch. So into that second chain from chain 2 from the round before, work a double crochet to end of that round. Round 5, chain 2 and turn. Again, it's double crochets into all stitches. Continue to the end of the round. So I've continued on working those double crochets back and forth until I have a length for my hoodie. Now this length must measure the length from the base of your neck to the crown of your head. And for myself, I got 8 inches. So here it is. If I measure from the start of my hoodie right at the bottom where I had worked the single crochet chain 1 single crochet, measuring to the top, you'll measure that measurement, and then we know that we have the length of our hoodie. We'll now begin working the rounded portion of the hoodie. Okay, so that measurement is from the base of the neck to the crown of the head. So there's no need to fasten off. We'll take this hoodie part of the neck warmer and fold that in half. And the portion that's folded, that folded edge, you can mark off with a stitch marker. We'll begin sort of rounding off the top of the hoodie. Now continuing on, we're just working double crochets, and once we get to the center here, right at the middle, we'll begin to decrease. So it's chain 2 and turn. Continue on with double crochets until you get to 2 stitches before that stitch marked off with the stitch marker. I've continued on and I've worked those double crochets to 2 stitches before the stitch marker. So if we look at it, here's 1, 2, and here's the stitch marked by the stitch marker. So now at this point we'll work decreases, only this time we're using single crochets. So to work our first decrease, insert your hook into that first stitch, pull up a loop, you have 2 loops on your hook. Insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through all 3 loops on the hook. Remove the stitch marker. Into that stitch marked by the stitch marker, work a single crochet. So it's insert your hook into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and go through 2 loops on the hook. Mark off that stitch with a stitch marker. Into the next 2 stitches, work a decrease. So it's insert your hook into the first stitch, pull up a loop. Insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and go through all 3 loops on the hook. So we've worked a decrease, a single crochet and a decrease. Then you continue on with double crochets to the end of the round. So here I have completed that first decrease round for the hoodie, and now we'll repeat this round. So it's just a matter of chaining 2, working double crochets to 2 stitches, 1, 2 stitches before the stitch marker. Into those 2 stitches you'll work a decrease. Remember, you're working it using single crochets, and then it's a single crochet into the stitch marked by the stitch marker, and then it's a decrease followed by double crochets to the end. So you'll repeat this round, and this will cause the hoodie to sort of round at the crown of the head. So then for the next round, it's chain 2, 1, 2, turn, work double crochets to the stitch marker, or rather to 2 stitches before that stitch marker. Okay, so here I am. I worked my way to 2 stitches before the stitch marker. Into those 2 stitches, I'll work a decrease. So insert your hook into the first stitch, pull up a loop, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through all 3 loops on the hook, remove the stitch marker, work a single crochet into that stitch, replace the stitch marker, into the next 2 stitches, work a decrease, insert your hook into the first stitch, pull up a loop, into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 3 loops on your hook, and then it's double crochets to the end of the round. I've continued on with those double crochets, then it was a decrease, a single crochet, decrease, and double crochets to the end. Now in total, I worked 6 of these decrease rounds. You may work less of these rounds or more of these rounds, all depending for who you're making them. I would think for a child sizes, you'd go with working 4 decrease rounds, and if you have making it for a bigger head circumference, you might even go up to 8 decrease rounds. As I said, I worked 6 decrease rounds. Now you may work as many of these rounds as need be in order to sort of round off this hoodie at the crown of the head. So here you see it, and it's got this rounded edge here. Now at this point, and you're satisfied with your hoodie, you can fasten off. Remember to keep behind a long enough tail for helping with the seaming. So here I fastened off, leaving behind a long enough tail. Now with your yarn needle, you can go ahead and seam along this top edge of the hoodie to join this edge. So bring those 2 ends together and continue all the way along this top edge. So I've continued on. Here it is seamed. This tail end, I'll take it to the wrong side, and at the same time I'll weave in this end. So weaving in this end means going back and forth into the stitches on the wrong side. So the whole idea is to lose your stitch, or sorry, the tail end into the stitch by going back and forth into the stitches. And then that excess, you can cut it off. So you'll do the same for all your tail ends, weave them in into the wrong side. So here we have this neck warmer. Here's the neck warmer portion of this hoodie, and here's the actual hoodie. I'd like to go ahead and add an edging around the hoodie. So right at the bottom of the hoodie, this our first round of the hoodie, attach yarn, bring in your yarn, And here we're working double crochets all around the opening of the hoodie to the opposite end. So you'll chain 2, 1, 2, and you'll see there are no stitches to work into. You work into the little gaps that you see along the way. Just make sure that you keep your stitches evenly spaced as you work on. So you're working double crochets all around this front opening of the hoodie. Continue on to the opposite side. I've worked those double crochets all along the front opening of the hoodie to the opposite side. So for round 2, it's chain 2 and turn. Here we're working 2 front post double crochets, and we'll alternate with 2 back post double crochets. So if you look at our stitches, this part is the post of the stitch. We'll be working all our stitches into the post of the stitch. So for a front post double crochet, it's yarn over, insert your hook into the post of the stitch going from the front, pull up a loop with 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook. So that was 1 front post double crochet, and then for the next front post double crochet, so it's 2 front post double crochets, and we'll alternate with 2 back post double crochets. For a back post double crochet, it's yarn over, insert the hook into the post of the stitch going from behind, pull up a loop with 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, go through 2 loops on the hook. And then for my second back post double crochet, here goes. So you'll continue on, you'll alternate with 2 front post double crochets followed by 2 back post double crochets. That was 2 front post back double crochets, and here's my 2 back post double crochets. Continue along all the way to the opposite side. So I've continued on, and I've worked those 2 front post double crochets alternating with 2 back post double crochets all the way to the opposite side. Now I fastened off and cut off a little tail end to help seam these edges down. Right there, that's where I'll seam. So here it is all seamed, and that does it for this tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed it. Oh yes, and all that's left to do is to weave in all these ends. And like I said, I hope that you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe. That way you never miss out on a tutorial from this channel. Thank you for watching.